Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, as we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today. As we're relaxing as per usual, I'm back, you see. No more pre-recorded. Did I have a good time? I had a good time. Had a good time indeed. Yes, it's very interesting. Everything's sort of lining up. I'll say there's lots of things which I suppose happen, but one of the main things certainly is the fact that I purchased a lot of camping equipment over the weekend. But anyway, good evening everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow it's 11:21 PM on Sunday, March 22nd, 2026. It's probably a random or like offshoot thing, but what was I going to say? The OBS has completely changed its interface. Well, not completely. Has a decent amount changed in its interface. And I know none of my settings have changed, but even subconsciously, I'm just like, what's changed? What's going on? What happened? You know? Because I'm looking at my audio mixer, and I'm just like, oh, new buttons. And I know it's always the same as it always is. You know, I record everything for my desktop sound. You know, I record obviously my mic sound, but I don't monitor my mic sound, so I don't get like that sort of speech delay thing. And also because my interface already has that sort of echo back sound, monitor sound, and with Elgato I play out of a sound, but I don't monitor the sound, if that makes sense. So then it doesn't display it, it doesn't play it through twice, both the desktop and its own individual audio. But even now there's like new buttons which show that interface off, and I'm just like, what does this mean? Has everything changed? When really nothing else has changed. And if anything, it's nice to actually have these buttons here. Not that I'm doing a lot of switching on the fly. I just have the one setup, and as long as it works the entire time, then that's good for me. One of the infamous words of Olivia Rodrigo, good for you. Anyway, what am I going to talk about? I guess I'll talk about, well, okay, D&D is going to be really interesting. That's another thing. Since we've had a lot of like lead up, and tomorrow is kind of like the arc ender for this group's session, where it's going to be like, theoretically it should be the hardest boss that we've yet to fight. I don't know, but this thing that's always very difficult, because obviously I've made them pretty strong, all things considered, but it also is like, are they going to use every single feat they have? I don't know. But that's kind of like, the point of it is to like slowly find out, I suppose. But it's very, very difficult when it comes to these boss fights, because when it comes to like regular fights, you shoot a little bit under. So like, I don't want to like necessarily kill them unless they make mistakes, but with boss fights it's like, I want to go ham, I want this to be insane. Like, the most challenging thing they've ever had, where they have to play smart, you know, they can't just do whatever and expect to get away with it. It's kind of my thinking. But whether that'll be the case or not, I don't really know. It's a very difficult fine line to balance, and especially harder now that they've basically recruited a lot of other people to join them in the fight. So yeah, it's a lot that I've been thinking about, and I have a good idea of what I'm going to do. Instead, sort of simplify and streamline everything down, but we'll see. But yeah, the main thing I was going to talk about was camping equipment. Yeah, because I think I might have mentioned it before. You know, I've done a couple of camping holidays with my friends, and we actually thoroughly enjoy it. I actually enjoyed camping a lot more than I expected to enjoy camping. Especially because I do like, I'm not like, okay, the way it is, I like appreciating nature. This must be Audie's, right? But I'm not like someone who's like, I'm always gonna get down and dirty, you know, like that sort of thing. I do prefer, I don't know if I prefer cities to the countryside, it kind of depends, I suppose, depending on what it's like. But there's, you know, there's certain things about camping, like I wouldn't do like wild camping, you know, backpacking with carrying my tent or something, or like extreme music festival, camping like that. I mean, that's not really camping, but something like going to a camping park, you know, going on some nature walk, seeing a local area. It's sort of like it doesn't need to be quite to the level of glamping, but it does need to be like out of the car camping, kind of. That's the sort of thing which I finally have a good time with, and it's just very nice to be out in nature, I know. To be able to relax, have a good time, sort of unwind. A few places to properly de-stress, I think. We've got an absurd amount of lily of the valleys now. But yeah, but we spent some time like before trying to find essentially a good tent, probably one, and we've gone to like a lot of places more nearby basically to try and find a tent. But we've never really found one. And the main reason ends up being is because the places we've been that ways don't have a tent collections out, or another place we went to, they were refurbishing their tent like walkways and paths and things, so they didn't have their tent collection out, so we were just like, alright, well, initially it was visiting some friends. We're going to do that, so we basically travelled a decent distance basically to buy some tents. There's this huge like warehouse store called Go Outdoors, I think, which holds a lot of camping equipment. And we basically went there, we just like looked through all the tents. There's lots and lots of different tents, which makes it very difficult to really know like, oh, which tent should we get? And it's just kind of like, well, we have to decide based on what we think is right, what we would want to use. So we have these like very, not arbitrary, but we have these seemingly arbitrary, I would say, delineations, being like, well, I want to use something with this, I want to use something with XYZ, or something with that. But yeah, it was interesting sort of try and depict what we wanted, try and decide, because we were like, obviously we don't want something which is extremely expensive for no apparent reason. We've got to have something which is, yeah, reasonable. We've got to think of these other things, but then it's like, oh, we also got to think of these very practical things as well, like, oh, how water resistant is it? How long would it take us to actually put up a tent? How big is it? Doesn't have space for us. I don't think my requirements were all that crazy. My requirements were just sort of like a enough space, really, because the current tent that we have is basically just for sleeping, and then we have like a sort of outside areas where we put all our bags, but it gets constantly filled up with the bags we bring. Are we light enough packers? I guess we're not, to be honest, but so yeah, and honestly we just walked in and basically every single other tent there had like tons of space, and we were like, okay, well, tick, my one's done. And then one of my friends was like, okay, it would be really nice to have like this sort of like a built-in canopy sort of space. So we have like a sleeping space, and then like a lobby, like living room space, and then we have like an entrance hall space where we can cook things as well, or anything like that. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. It needs to be lightweight, it needs to be stuff like this. But at the end of the day, we bought a pretty good tent. I think I can't remember what it's called. Hampton tent? Is that what it's called? I think so. I think it was a Hampton 600 Eclipse, if I recalled, which apparently had very good overviews. It's a family tent. It's got everything that we basically wanted. Even though it was only for 4 of us, but you know, why not have enough space for 5 or 6 of us? And the thing I like about it is I like that the recreational area, I suppose, the lobby sort of area, the main area, has a lot of space, which is essentially what I wanted. And yeah, it came at a pretty good price. Like, you can also get a carpet over the inside, but the carpet I feel like it's a bit meh, don't need the carpet. But apparently there's also a thing called a tent footprint, which is apparently very useful keeping to protect the underside of the floor of the tent from not only moisture, but for also any like debris and stuff, which is something we didn't have previously. Which is pretty good. We got some nice air mattresses as well. We got a lot of other things. Like, it was basically us picking up a lot of stuff, where it's just like, we've done it camping a couple of times. What like luxury things do we still kind of want? One was having a better cooker. I remember the first time we went camping, look, we had a very tiny stove cooker, which a friend brought, but then like the gas was like too cold for it or something, and we couldn't really cook a lot in it. So I remember 2 of my friends were basically warming it up, like holding a really cold gas can next to them to do things. One of my friends was outside, basically, sort of like kind of in the rain, cooking, not in the rain, but in the cold, like cooking rain, and I was like in between with like 4 plates on my lap, trying to divvy out for food. It was very amusing. So we always had like cooler items, because that's why we bought some bacon because we were like staying at a farm, and then it was like, well, we had to actually cook this all pretty quickly because we don't have any way to keep us cool. Like maybe it'll probably last a morning, but that's it. So we bought a big cooler box as well, to be able to hold food in that won't spoil that quickly for multi-day camping purposes. We bought some tables and chairs as well, so we'd hopefully have space to actually sort of relax with them as well. Because we could do it inside or outside, I don't know, but probably outside. But we can bring them underneath a canopy, I suppose, when night falls. What else did we bring? But I think that was it. What was it? The table, chairs, the footprint, the tent, stove. We were planning to buy some other things, like we wanted to buy some like fairy lights, which I think would be a cool idea. To light things up. There was some like lamp-like things as well, which would be cool. I suggested that maybe we should get some storage things, but also at the same time, like we don't really know what storage things we need. So we kind of basically long short is that we need to go camping in it to sort of figure it out. So yeah, apparently this tent's pretty good. I mean, honestly, it was kind of exciting to sort of like walk through all these things, and no, I think it's really fun going on group shopping trips, especially in this one. We have a common goal. It's like, well, what do we want? Well, thankfully we're all friends, so we're not going to be at each other's throats, but like contrasting things that we want. And we have like very reasonable discussions about what would make sense for us to get, what doesn't make sense, etc, etc. I wonder if I can find someone putting up his tent, seeing how difficult it is. Put the storm to the test. A new tent camping in a storm. Is it? It wasn't the nightfall, was it? I thought it was the eclipse, but I also might be losing my mind slightly. See, I didn't take a picture of it, which might have been my mistake, but I don't know. We looked at a lot of tents, can I just say, so I do forgive myself in that regard. Why am I not archiving this photo? Is this it? Someone putting it up? I don't think... Wait, maybe it was the eclipse. Was it the eclipse? I don't know. Let's mute it. As I put this video on fast forward, as I see someone set up this tent, see what it's like. So hopefully now we're a little bit better at camping. So it'll make a bit more sense. But yeah, camping's a thing. I don't think I would do it for extreme amounts of time, but I certainly would do it for like quite a few days. What's the most days I would do camping in a row? I think it depends on facilities given. What do I think about glamping? I don't know. I've done glamping before. But yeah, buying equipment. I think it's always a nice experience where it's like you do something and then it's like, oh, you know, because when you first start out doing like, I'm not going to call this necessarily a hobby, I think that's a bit much, but doing any sort of activity, and it's sort of like oh, you know, well now we're doing it more, now is the time to actually get something a little bit better. No, it's about time that we buy some better equipment to actually engage with it a bit more. You know, it's the same way with drawing. Like the first tablet I had was £20 monoprice tablet, and I was like, all right, I'm doing this a bit more, let's get a better one. And then I got a Huion. I forgot what it's called, one of the Huion tablets. And then it's like, well, okay, now I'm doing it even more. So now, it's always nice to get that feeling of being like, I'm engaging with this enough, I like this hobby enough, I like doing this enough, it's time to upgrade to actually something which is pretty good, something which actually makes sense, it's worth value for money. Because there's a very awkward thing, I always feel like, where it's like, when you want to engage with a hobby, you know, you obviously don't want to invest that much money in it because you don't know how much you like it. It'd be silly to be like, oh, I want to pick up lacrosse, buy like lacrosse equipment, and be like, wait, I don't actually like lacrosse. So you obviously start with like renting things, or you start out by using cheap variations or stuff. But it's a very awkward thing because it doesn't necessarily give the best representation of what a battery depleted. Oh, that's not good. I guess I'll swap batteries. Hold on. Battery swapped. But it's the sort of thing where it's like when you start out with a hobby, obviously you're using all the cheap stuff or rented stuff, maybe secondhand, or maybe not even using proper things, like worse things, because like fairly enough, it's like why would you try and do anything more expensive if you don't know if you're going to like it or not? There's no point investing that money in. But at the same time, it can also like not give a very good overview of what it's like, you know, to engage with that hobby, you know, which is almost like a shame, because it's like you're getting a lesser experience, but you're getting a different experience per se. And if you are getting a different experience, then it's sort of like a, well, if you are getting a lesser experience, and maybe that will affect what it likes. Like, for example, if you're doing camping, like you might have like a very not great tent or something that doesn't keep the water out particularly well. You don't have like a footprint or something to go under your tent. You have okay enough supplies, but you go out and maybe you have a great time. You go to a place where weather's like pretty nice, not bad at all things considered. You set things up and you're like, oh, I love it. You know, let's go camping often. Or it might just be absolutely horrific, like it gets unusually cold and extremely wet that night, and then, you know, water seeps into your tent because it's not that good, or like into your sleeping bag and it keeps you cold. You didn't realise that you didn't bring enough layers or something, and you're like, this is a horrible time, I don't like this at all. That can affect it, you know. And while in an ideal world you'd be like, okay, try things a few times and just to sort of really try and understand if it's something that you do or don't like, but not everyone's going to live in that world, you know. And I think it's a shame that you would be like, oh, that would happen, and be like, oh, well, now you don't get to interface with something because, you know, the first experience you had with it was not great. You know, ideally everything you'd have would be like, that's something which you engage with and you have a great time with. You do it and it's like, wow, fantastic. But yeah. It's just sort of like a shame, in a way, to be like, you potentially losing out on something which you would really like if it had just been something which you like, for example, like if somehow, some way, money was an issue and you just got like the best equipment to start off with to begin with, you would have like a really nice tent which has a great like waterproofing, like evaluation or something. You got a really nice sleeping bag that keeps you really warm, and then, you know, even when that rain comes and all that stuff, you're not affected by it, and it's sort of like a, whoa, okay, you still interface with it and you can focus on the parts which you love about a hobby. At the same time, you know, a lot of hobbies also have downsides as well, so perhaps it's not all that unreasonable to expect that, like, hey, if something bad's going to happen during a hobby and it ruins the entire time, then maybe that's not a hobby that you particularly want in the first place anyway. I don't know, it's hard to say. But I think there is something, basically what I'm trying to say is it's very special getting that first upgrade for anything. To getting something and being like, yes, this is a time where I can properly say that I'm using the good equipment for it, rather than making do with less equipment. Like I felt that the first time I upgraded my tablet, like when I was doing a monoprice one, it was sort of like just learning, and then getting the actual next tablet, I was like, whoa, this is a crazy experience. This is so much better. And then again, upgrading from that to this, the canvas, being like, wow, actually being able to see where I'm drawing. You know, it's so nice to be able to have a direct connection with it. So I imagine this is probably going to be the experience when we go camping. You know, there's nothing wrong with our current tent, it's fine. But now it's going to be comfortable, hopefully. And yeah, that's what I'm excited about. Anyway, when am I going to go camping? Who knows? There'll be somewhat. I mean, I'll definitely be this year, for sure, for certain. But for now, I'm going to round this episode up here. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been dear darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see you again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now. Oh, I'm running off.